Hello, Joe Eszterhas. So nice to see you.
Sharon, it's nice to see you. It always is.
I've known you a really long time. I've interviewed you so many times over the years about all kinds of things. First time was in your house in Malibu when a new baby was born. It's got to be 30 years, maybe. I don't know
Right.
how old your oldest is, but when you lived in Malibu. And now here you are back with this incredible deal to write a reboot of Basic Instinct. So I really wanted to get on the horn with you and kind of understand, where did this come from? You've not really been in the business of writing thrillers for quite a long time. You've been writing novels, you've been writing kind of religious based um, material, you've been writing memoir. Where did this come from?
I can't tell you where they come from. I had an idea of how to do a basic sequel. I turned to Craig Baumgarten, who was either made or produced 5 of my films through the years. And then I said, well, see what you can do. And then with a bare boned idea that's more approach than plot and character. And the approach is to reboot it instead of doing a sequel, because they did a sequel in 2005 without me, and it was a piece of shit sequel and a disaster, and both commercially and critically. They took the spine and the heart and the humor out of it. It was no longer fun. It was very politically correct and very woke. And It was terrible. So I had this idea of how to approach this in exactly the way that the first one was, which was fun. And there was a byplay, there was a chemistry, and there was an ambiguity, which I thought was very important to the picture, and that stressed boundaries. Craig took that basic notion and went to Courtney Miletti with it, and she liked the idea.
At Amazon, at GM.
Amazon. I had to do 2 sort of auditions at my age with Scott Stupert and also with Amber Raspberry, who has the greatest name I've ever heard. I wanted to film the name immediately. She said she only changed one letter. It's her God-given name.
What would be that is her God-given name?
Given name, yeah. My first question I asked her. So I seemed to pass the auditions, and I actually had some fun with them, and I think they did too. And then I didn't have an attorney. I haven't had one for some time. But Patty Glazer with her firm, it was my divorce attorney, and she's the godmother of 2 of my kids.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
And then, so Patty, the head of their motion picture division is Doug Stone. She hooked me up with Doug. And Doug did this amazing negotiation that took months and months, literally. And I kept saying to Doug, if we're going to do this, close it. He said, I've closed it. And then I discovered the next day that he was still negotiating on a different point. This went on for literally a couple months. And then he said, I think we're done. He still wasn't. And when he came back to me about a week later, and said, now I am.
Well, that is a really big deal. So we reported that it was a $4 million deal. It's like a $2 million guarantee. It's $3 million if the film gets greenlit. You don't have to talk about. I mean, it's embarrassing to talk about.
It's $3 million if I get any credit at all, and 4 if I get sole credit.
So these are like the days of the big deal spec scripts, which Hollywood still does. There have been a couple this year, but number one, not very many, and number two, you're 80, like, we want to make sure that we have a life insurance policy on you. If I were Amazon, I would want a life insurance policy on you.
Sure, and this is preposterous. The notion that you're going to pay $4 million to an 80-year-old fucking guy who lives in Cleveland, for God's sake, right? You're going to do all that? Okay. So they did. Now, the only thing I can say in defense of all this is for people who are concerned about my age, I'm a huge Mark Twain fan, and I'm going to paraphrase Twain and say that the rumors about my cinematic impotence are exaggerated and ageist. And I have a co-writer who's a twisted little man who lives somewhere deep inside me, I won't name where, who's 29. He was born 29. He will die 29.
I love it. Yeah.
But he wrote much of the first basic, and he tells me that he is, quote, up to write this, and that he will give everyone a wild and cinematic ride. I was very happy to hear my twisted little man say that, because it gives me some confidence that we will really do something together.
Well, yeah, it is really that, right? I have two comments on this. First of all, I have been of late talking to so many people who are active in the industry who are 80 or around 80. I'm talking about Jerry Bruckheimer is speaking at our conference in another couple months. I've been talking to Barry Diller the other day. He's close to 80. These are not people who are looking backwards.
Yeah.
Jerry is still fully engaged in being a producer and is looking forward to me. And we have Michael Mann, who's 80 years old. We have Martin Scorsese, so it's really, I hate to say like 80's the new 60, but it's like your generation is really showing a really a new horizon about what's possible.
From your lips to God's ear. I love that. Let's hope it's true. I feel good. I survived a stage 4 cancer 20 years ago. I feel good. I got go through my usual aches and pains. It's all bullshit. Naomi is a terrific inspiration to me. She doesn't let me get away with much.
Well, she's still 50, right?
She's yes, and Naomi is 67 this year. So we have 4 sons who are very active. They all have beautiful girlfriends who come through the house, amusing the old guy and teaching him some things. So life is good, and then I've really been. If I look at my life and take it back to the refugee camps and growing up on Lorraine Avenue, I've really been blessed.
Okay, but enough about you. About you.
Right.
Let's talk about Basic Instinct. First of all, this is such an iconic film, and the culture has gone through so many changes since that time. And I would argue that Basic Instinct was really key in creating certain tropes and ideas about independent women. It certainly made an international star of Sharon Stone, and that character, Catherine Trammell, solidified that, and probably Fatal Attraction in that time helped solidify a certain notion of independent womanhood, the age of feminist, counter-feminist, however you want to call it. So when you say that you didn't like the woke version of the sequel and that this film is not going to be that, what do you have in mind for the character, and what do you have in mind for the storyline?
I can't talk very much about the storyline at this point because much of it isn't formed yet. And of course, I'm not going to give it away because it's a thriller. And one of the things I really enjoyed with the first one is so many people said to me, because of the ambiguity, well, did Catherine really do it or didn't she do it? And then my answer was always the same: go see it again and increase my quarterly residuals, and then you'll determine. But the character came, and I've really not told this story before. The character came when I was in college. I was 18 years old, and I met a professor's wife who was in her mid-30s, and we had an affair. And she was the beautiful and smart and really well read, and outspoken, and fiery and funny, and totally open about her sexuality. And after nearing the end of the year, she came to me and said we were done, and she broke my heart. She picked a student out. I discovered later every year that she had something to do with it. But I learned a terrific amount of it. I was a shy, inward immigrant kid who had girlfriends, but nothing like this. I learned a terrific amount about her. I was in love with it, and the cop character. I was a police reporter. I met a cop who'd been involved in 3 or 4 shootings. I liked him. We were drinking buddies, but I realized through the course of our relationship that he liked pulling the trigger. Okay, so the flash forward in nearly 20 years, And I can't tell you why, but the two characters, I mean, if I could, I would, but the two characters somehow came together almost alchemically. And I started playing with it. And after, I don't know, I guess about 4 or 5 months of thinking about it, I went off to Hawaii by myself, let the sun beat me up. Did a lot of drinking, Tanqueray drinking, snorted some coke, and in 13 days I had a story in longhand. I went home, I called it Love Hurts, I retyped it, sent it down to Guy McElwain, my agent at the time, and my mentor, and truly my big brother in the business. They put it up for auction. And a week later, they did something that hasn't been publicized at all. Mike Medavoy, who got me my start in the business, wanted to work with me. So they gave it to Mike for a weekend before the auction. Mike came in and bid $1.7 million for it. They didn't want to take that.
Where was he at the time? Was he at Orion or something? Or
Well, he was at his own production company.
oh, okay.
I've forgotten. He came in at 1.7. They used that as the floor, and it completely blew up. At the end of the day, the final two bidders were Mario Cassar with Carol Cohen and his former partner in Carol Cohen, Andy Viner with Synergy. Now, the truth here is that Mario bid $4 million. Andy, who was a friend of mine, said, I can't top that because if I bid 5, no one will talk to me in town for that kind of money for a writer. Okay, so it stood at 4, but I wanted Irwin Winkler to come in and produce it. I've done 2 films with him. In my mind, he was the best producer I've ever worked with. And Mario said, I don't have the money to do that for his prices. I said, take $1 million off of mine and give it to Irwin.
Wow.
So that's what happened. Irwin came in. He was publicized as a producer, and of course there was a horrendous blowout, and between Verhoeven and me and Irwin and Michael, and the Variety had actually a banner headline about the sale, but they also had a banner headline about how we pulled out. We looked like the biggest ingrates in the world, and Irwin never came back in. But that's how it evolved, and that's how it became Basic Instinct. I can't tell you. I don't know how to tell you in terms of, because I don't know how in the creative process you meet 2 people, they influence your life. You think about them because they did, and they get swirled around together somehow, and then out of all of that, the woman with whom I had the affair when the movie came out. Send me a note, and she said, I saw Basic Instinct, I love it. And then she added something that said, I think about you too, thank you.
Oh, that's really great. She got it. She saw herself.
Yeah, that's how it came about.
That's really amazing. What do you mean by reboot? I had 10 people ask me yesterday after we wrote the story, but what does he mean by reboot? So I got to ask you, what is a reboot?
It's not a sequel in terms of picking up where the story left off.
Right.
It begins in 2025. The Catherine Trammell character, I will write, and I hope Sharon agrees to do the picture, because I thought she was brilliant the first time out.
Yeah.
And brilliant performance and an iconic character. In my reboot, she of the picture, but she is the main co-star of the picture. And the story picks up. It's about the serial killers. It's about copycats. There's a demonic element to it that I think will be spooky, and that comes from the notion that when Paul Verhoeven and I had a disagreement over the script, and he said, "I'm bringing in another writer." I don't know if you remember this. And then they did a draft with another writer, and he called me and he said, "I was wrong. I'm going to shoot your first draft." And we did a press conference announcing that. Now, Paul at that point said, "I didn't understand the basement of your script. Your script was really about good and evil." That's what it was. And I thought he really put his finger on it. Then what we did, it also wasn't publicized, is they bought the Stones, the Sympathy for the Devil, for $750,000 that they were going to use over final credits. And Paul said, after they bought it, Paul said, we're not going to do that because then it gives it away. I want the ambiguity about is she evil or isn't she evil? But
Wow.
he put his finger on something and the whole thing about good and evil will be the serious part of the subtext in terms of the story of the characters.
How does that, when you say that when we were talking earlier, you said the film is anti-woke. In your mind, what does that mean, anti-woke?
It means that dialogue-wise, she will be open about her sexuality, character-wise. That she will be raunchy at times, funny, iconoclastic, and all of those things.
In other words, do you think that in today's contemporary cinema, there's some sense that you're not allowed to make a woman a villain, or a woman's not allowed to be raunchy? Because there's lots of raunchy films. I mean, I'll introduce you to Melissa McCarthy if you haven't met her. But I mean, we do raunchy. I just want to kind of get at how you see the lines that have been erected that we're not allowed to breach anymore somehow in storytelling.
Camille Bagley had in reassessing basics said that it totally redefined women, and it's a post-feminist classic in terms of characterization. Other reviews have said the same kind of thing. Mm-hmm. What I noticed after that is a step back from that in terms of do you have to do a villain? And I'm not saying, incidentally, that the woman who will be the main character, the star of the picture here, will be a villain. We will debate that, I think. But there are certain things that I can't give away will make the story controversial, and I think the film controversial.
One of the last times, not the last time, I guess, but one of the last times we've spoken many times over the years over many consequential incidents, from Mel Gibson to talking about your father, and you wrote a beautiful piece for us a year ago, I guess, maybe two, about your father. And you, of course, made The Music Box, wrote an incredible film with Jessica Lange about essentially about your childhood origins and where you came from in Hungary. And then we also met over lunch during the Republican National Convention when it was in Cleveland, and Trump was nominated for the first time, and now he's president again, and we're in the middle of quite a meltdown over freedom of expression, free press. You're one of the most I'd say fearless writers out there. You have certainly a great appreciation for journalism because you started in journalism, and now clearly you have a point of view about whether the woke culture is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm going to glean that you think it's a bad thing since you're going to write something that's not that. What are your thoughts generally about jumping back into a controversial topic story that you're going to tell, and the environment that we're in right now?
Let me talk to you about Trump first, because I think it relates to this. I liked Trump and liked some of the things that Trump does, but I'm very concerned about the immigrant situation. I'm concerned about going after not just MS-13 and all of that, but immigrants who've been here 10 years illegally, and the whole campaign with that. The whole Epstein thing is blown up in the past couple of years. If I were a journalist, and I don't understand why this hasn't happened, if I were a journalist at a press conference or something, I would ask the president specifically if he went to that island, and specifically if when he went to that island, he had sexual relations with underage women. No one's asked that question bluntly, and I think that question has to be asked because it relates to everything about our president and who he is and all of that. And in terms of the woke culture, I think that there is a segment of the population that's at it with woke culture, but then there's also a huge segment that hasn't. I don't believe in woke, and I don't believe in being politically correct because I think it's not the truth, and I like the truth spoken. And
what's not the truth? Because I guess that does get to the heart of whose truth, what truth, where truth. One of these books is Jill Lepore's book called Truths.
Where it affects me is that it's affecting the language completely in our assessment. We don't really, we have softened the language. There are no obstacles or problems in life anymore. There are challenges. The whole thing with mental issues, is put under a kind of cloud that once again reflects challenges and never the problems that people have. That generally, I think, pervades the culture. And if you do something in some circles, and this may be better today than it was, but if you do something like have a woman who is possibly a villain, who has possibly done things you are condemned for doing that. The absurdities come when a woman who is sexual and open about her sexuality, the culture that I grew up in, would describe that woman as an nymphomaniac. Okay, if a man did the same thing, he would be a stud, and then he moves into religion, in my mind as well, because there are some faiths, including the one that I officially belong to, that are totally sexist. Women aren't allowed to be priests. Well, why the hell not? By what justice are they not allowed to be priests? They can be nuns, they can be assistants, and all of that. But those things are wrong, and in my mind, they're things that should be changed, even in terms of religion as well.
Mm-hmm. So, well, I'm not sure everybody would agree fully with your definition of woke, but I definitely think it's interesting that we're at a point where a major Hollywood studio is signing on with you, and they're taking a leap because they don't really know what you're going to do, right? This is a yet to be created piece of work, but that they think that the culture is ready to see that again after we have had many years where I think, there are lots of people in Hollywood who think that maybe it swung too far into the progressive camp in terms of themes of movies and kind of storytelling and what you're allowed to say or do in terms of heroes and villains and outcomes, and who decides what is a happy ending or not. Right?
Well, listen, I know I'm controversial. I've always been. They know
You've always been, Joe. Yes.
Forgetting, I don't hide it. That's why as I said too, it's utterly preposterous. This 80-year-old guy in Cleveland forgot this kind of money, in today's world. But I think I'm excited about it. I think I can do it well, and I think I can make it fun again, because the original, the single thing, I've been to a lot of revivals of it through the years, and people had fun. They laughed at the dialogue. They chanted sometimes during the movie. They was pure fun for them, and I could do that again. The Twisted Little Man and I together do that again.
That 29-year-old guy is down. I'm glad to know that he's alive and well and thriving. It's great. What's your time frame for? What do you think your time frame is for getting a draft, or in your
Less
head?
than 3 months. I think it'll be much less than that. I'm guessing it'll be a month and a half or 2 months. Usually, they're speaking to me, and I'm taking notes. And I wake up and I hear lines of dialogue.
I'm sorry, you're talking about the guy inside?
The record's done. Yeah, so he speaks gibberish. It's part Hungarian, part one, but I get it.
Okay, so you think you'll have a draft within a couple months?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Okay. Well, buckle up. Great to talk to you, Joe. It's great to hear you back on the scene and making some noise. And we're all looking forward to seeing this reboot of Basic Instinct.
Yes,
Thank you. God bless. Thanks for the time, Joe. Take care.
Dude, thank you, Sharon. Thank you.